Welcome to Clocking In, Voices of NC Manufacturing. I'm your host, Phil Mintz, Director of the North Carolina Manufacturing Extension Partnership, otherwise known as NCMEP. My role is to drive outreach to NC manufacturers, build relationships to federal and state leaders, and coordinate efforts to drive profitable manufacturing growth in North Carolina. Throughout my time working closely with manufacturers, I have heard the most quirky, curious, and memorable stories. I wanted to turn these stories into a podcast so that others may hear and be informed and inspired. From humble beginnings to manufacturing titans, from tragedy to triumph, I will be interviewing some of these manufacturers who have made North Carolina manufacturing the powerhouse that it is today. I continue to be amazed by my discovery of North Carolina manufacturers that produce the most thoughtful and useful solutions for our society. Just a few weeks ago, I learned that Outrider USA, located in Mars Hill, North Carolina, builds adaptive electric vehicles for people with mobility impairments. Calling themselves wing builders, the company is driven by its stated mission to provide hope through independence, exercise, and adventure. Today we'll learn more about Outrider through the lens of one of its founders. Tommy Ausheman is the president of Outrider and attended Appalachian State University, where it appears the dream began. But that's just a part of the fascination of this story. So Tommy, thanks for joining us today as we learn more about you and what's going on with Outrider.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys so much for having me. It's great to be here.
So I think I read that you're not a native to North Carolina. That is, until you moved to this great state for college. And I don't think we let you get away after that, did we?
That's right. Yeah. I fell in love with the mountains up in Boone, and I was kind of done for from there. So,
yeah. So what did App State offer that made a tinkerer like you want to go there?
Well, actually, my best friend from when I was a little boy, he went to App State, a year older than me. And I came down to visit him, and really into rock climbing and mountain biking. And so when I saw Boone and the surrounding area, I can't honestly say I went there for any program. I just went there because of the mountains. So I later found appropriate technology at App State and really enjoyed that program a lot.
Talk about what appropriate technology is. What is that?
So I think an example that helps that someone told me early on was if you were in a third world country and they had the issue of needing to make an incubator for premature children, you wouldn't want to send a multi-million-dollar machine over there that if it had a failure, they wouldn't know how to fix it. They wouldn't have the parts available. So an appropriate tech solution would be an incubator that was built with automotive parts. So say like headlight as a heating element, relays, basic electronic circuits that if it fails, it's going to be repairable by with the skills that people have locally to that area. So it's just kind of as much technology as is needed to get the job done without over engineering and over complicating a particular design.
So it sounds like a big part of that is just a mindset of how to think about what you might want to build, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So did it help you move into the work that you're doing today? It seems like it would.
Yeah, it did. It was kind of a roundabout way, but we talked a lot about sustainability issues, energy concerns, and so there was a lot of talk about all of these kind of concerns, and we didn't have a whole lot of hands-on time working on solutions. And so finally I was like, I just got to build something. And so I built my first high-speed electric bike to commute on, and then kind of was hooked from there and started really digging into electronics and understanding electronics just kind of on my own time.
So App State let you build your own bike there.
They did.
They bought the materials and everything? You're able
No.
They just gave you a place to do it.
Yeah, they had a very basic machine shop. I had access to a little welder and some bandsaws and stuff, and just enough for me to be able to fabricate my first machine with the tools that they had around in their fab shop.
All right, so you built an electric bike. So what happened after that?
Yeah, so I built that first one. It was a behemoth. It went like 45 miles an hour. I used a trolling motor from a boat and some motorcycle batteries. Then that evolved into, a lot of my friends made fun of me because it was so crazy and Mad Max looking. Then one of my professors made fun of me, and then so I was like, all right, I got to build something better than this. So I built a 3-wheeler with 2 wheels up in the front and one in the back. and it kept evolving. And after about the third or fourth iteration, it was really light, it was powerful, it was fast. And I started posting them online, and then had a couple guys that wanted me to build one for them. And so that just kind of organically started rolling into a business when I was sophomore, junior in college.
Interesting. All right, so
Mm-hmm.
what was the thing that translated this whole idea into what you do now?
Well, there's been probably three or four kind of turning points for the company through the years. We're now 16 years old, which is kind of
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
Those first ones we were building were road going machines, high speed, lightweight, low to the ground. And then come 2016, we started building off-road machines and really focusing on building them for riders with physical disabilities. And so that was a whole new engineering project come 2016 that's really its own story. And then as folks went deeper and deeper into the woods, they started wanting more stability. They wanted four-wheel drive. And so we developed the four-wheel drive in 2021.
Hmm.
And then come 2022, we decided we're all in on this four-wheel drive. We're going to kind of leave the trikes in the past and just move forward on these compact four-wheel drives.
Wow. Wow.
So
So who buys your stuff? What is the how is your where do you where's your market come from?
probably, I would say 65% of our riders have some kind of physical disability. The majority of those are probably spinal cord injuries from younger guys that maybe are paraplegic. Their upper body is still 100%, but their lower body has little or no function. A lot of times that's a motorcycle accident, extreme sports, and or it could be, a wounded veteran that's lost a leg or both legs. And a lot of these guys are, they love adrenaline, they love being outside. And so when this happens to them, it's pretty devastating, as it would be to anyone. But they kind of make the assumption that the places they used to go are now off limits. And so when they get a machine like this, it opens up those places again. And, that's the best part of this job, is getting to hear them talk about that experience after they receive the machine.
What is the most common thing they do with it? I mean, do they just go hiking in the woods or mountains, or is it, I mean, just off road? Is that kind of
Yeah. Yeah. So probably hunting is a very common
okay?
one. It's so quiet and low profile. But I think as much as anything, it's like, maybe a good analogy is like boots. Like anytime you leave the house, you might wear shoes around the house, but if you go in the woods, you're gonna put some boots on. It's like anytime you or I would want to throw some boots on is when they're getting on this machine. And I think it's fun too, because we see guys, now this is in their garage and all they have to do is find a way to get onto it, and then everything is open, again. So it may just be running up to the store just to run up to the store, or just run around the neighborhood. It's just kind of freedom. Finding an excuse to ride it, I think, is what happens a lot
Yeah.
of the times.
Well, clearly you guys kind of have a passion for what you do. I mean, you see that in your mission statement. I mean, you call yourselves wing builders.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Tell me about that.
Well, that was kind of an interesting. There's been a few of these moments through this journey. I think it was back in 2016, 2017. We had just taken on this project to start building these for folks with disabilities. And we had raised like 126,000 through Kickstarter. And we said it was going to be 1 year until we started delivering our first units. We were a year in. I think at that point, we had already, it had taken about $600,000 for that 1 year of R&D on the new unit. It was still had a lot of work to do. Like I said, we only raised 126,000, which at the beginning sounded like a lot. Um, and so I was getting a little afraid, getting, we're really stretching things. And I was actually up in Pennsylvania, where I'm from. We have some farmland, and I was up hunting in a tree stand, and I was kind of doing a little soul searching, and I was like, I'm in a really vulnerable position here. I'm not really sure what to do next. I'm not sure even if we're on the right track or not. And I just said a prayer. I was like, God, I could just use a word from you on
Mhm.
what we're doing. What are we up to? What's going on here? What's my focus? And he said very clearly, he said wing builders. And I was like, wing builders?
Hmm.
That's pretty cool. Later found out this picture of Icarus, the guy that gets these wings that are kind of waxed onto his back, and he gets to fly up towards the sun. And so that's kind of been the vision is, a lot of these guys are in a really dark place after one of these accidents. And I think that if they can have the opportunity to come up out of the muck and mire a little bit and get some sunshine, that it can, we hope that's the beginning of them being able to turn the corner and kind of get to a better place. So yeah, that was helpful because we've been running on that word ever since. So following that directive.
Yeah, we're speaking with Tommy Ausheman. He is the president of Outrider USA, a maker of adaptive electric vehicles, right?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, you guys got going in Fletcher, or was that kind of the first place you kind of set up shop?
Yeah, that's correct. After I graduated college in 2011, I was looking for a place. I wanted to be in Asheville to start the business. I thought that's where the market was. Looked in Asheville, and every kind of warehouse space was way too expensive for me. So then I found a spot in Fletcher in a flex space, and it was like 750 square foot for $750 a month. And I was like, well, if I live there, that'd be about my rent, if I was living at a place anyways, so I can start a business and live there. And I was like, I'll live there for a year, just to get it going. Ended up living there for 5 or 6 years in the shop, kind of secretly, because technically I wasn't supposed to be living in an industrial building. And so I lived up in the loft and heated with the wood stove, and we didn't have any AC. And then a guy that I met later, he joined in the business. He started living and working with me as a co-founder. And then my best friend joined as well. So at one point, there was 3 of us in this little loft with bunk beds all starting this thing together. So they were all there for about a year, but that was kind of in Fletcher. And what was cool about Fletcher too, is I was coming back from Pennsylvania another time. It might've been the same year or a year later after that Wing Builders thing. And I saw the sign Fletcher, and I was like, Fletcher. And I looked it up, and a Fletcher is someone who puts feathers on an arrow for flight. And I was like, wow, that ties right in with the Wing Builders thing too, to be starting out in Fletcher. So we love Fletcher. We wanted to stay in Fletcher, but when we outgrew the space, we couldn't find the cost of square foot we needed to.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, was the move to Mars Hill about the growth?
It was. And I didn't really want to move this far up north. And one of my buddies was like, you got to come up and just check out the space. And I was like, all right. Well, we come up and look at it, and it's like, 10,000 square foot for 50% more than what we were spending for 3,000 at that time. And so I was like, all right, I guess that's kind of what we're going to do. And it's been really neat actually, because we're in the Hammerlin building that was built back in World War II to make ham radios. And so at one point, this place was bustling making radios, and then became, Honeywell, and then Microswitch. And now the owner has about 12 different units in this 100,000 square foot building. It's all different kinds of manufacturing that's happening here, small manufacturers. So it's pretty neat place. Mars Hill. It's all here.
So I think I saw a photograph. I think it might have been from between you guys, your initial crew there. It was a dog in the picture. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's Bruce.
Yeah, that was your first kind of a team that got things going.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, that photo we took about 2 years ago. So that was at that time. We need to update it a little bit. But Bruce is still here. He's our certified lunch inspector. That's his role. He has to check everybody's lunches out. He's the dog, but we got a couple other dogs here now too. So it's a fun place to work.
So tell me about kind of what you feel like is your most amazing product. I mean, is everything kind of built off the same platform? I know you said you went to 4 wheels. I mean, what are the variations? How can people order it?
We have really tried. Initially, we were building everything under the sun, every kind of variation, and found that wasn't really sustainable from a manufacturing perspective. So we tightened it up and really focused on this 4-wheel drive platform. So we build more or less pretty minor variations off of that 4-wheel drive. We have primarily the things that are changing are the hand controls. So we've got standard hand controls. We got single-sided controls for someone that's had like stroke, for instance. We got special leg supports for people that have little or no function of their legs. We've got a unique tri-pin hand control system for guys that don't have hand function. And probably the biggest variation that we have now is one that's a walk behind unit. So someone that would have a cognitive disability could be in the machine, and then the operator could be back behind them. Because traditionally, those kinds of hiking units like that have a person out front and a person in the back, and they're manual. And so it's like a heavy duty wheelbarrow, but the person in the seat is looking at the person's back in front of them the whole time.
Yeah.
So you don't really see the trail out in front of you. So this walk behind unit is a new thing, and we're starting to get into search and rescue applications as well for a stretcher on that unit. That's kind of an exciting new development that we're up to. But yeah, they're all ordered through our website, or folks call in. We got a pretty neat configurator tool on our website.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a lot of, you kind of just customize what you want to get, answer some questions, right?
Yeah. And it's a whole new thing. There's not really a precedent for this. So there's a lot of times somebody could be looking at something for months and months, trying to watch as many of our YouTube videos as possible and make sure they can really wrap their head around it, because they can't just go in town and test ride one at their local, Outrider dealership. Not yet anyway.
Yeah. Do you think that's going to be there one day? I mean, how's your growth curve looking?
Yeah, I think we're going to try to stay direct. I see that could happen for our search and rescue side through dealers. The tricky thing about American manufacturing in this kind of consumer segment is, if we want to keep the manufacturing in the US, of course, that makes for tighter margins, which we compensate for that by selling direct to consumer.
Right.
We don't have to have that 30 to 40% dealer margin in there. If we start to add a dealer in, then the price has to go up. So the way I'm kind of keen to do it is the sort of mattress route, where, somebody's like, yeah, I really want one. I'm pretty confident that I'm gonna, buy one. We send a unit to them fully assembled in a reusable crate. They try it for a week. If for some reason they don't want it, they just need to pay the shipping costs to get it to them and back. Because we actually did something like that during COVID, and the success rate on that was super high.
Wow.
And then
they don't come back.
They don't come back. Yeah. That's good. And people don't like paying shipping, right? It's like, I'd rather pay 20 grand than pay for shipping.
Go figure.
Right? Yeah. So I think that's what we want to do. And so we got to work to get our lead times down. So, that's not such an obstacle.
How hard is it to get the parts for it? I mean, everything is all about supply chain challenges and this and that. There's probably a lot of special pieces that you need for that thing.
There are. Yeah, there's about 400 unique parts that go into it, and there's 52 unique suppliers, and we build in monthly cycles. So it's like rinse and repeat every month. I mean, a lot of this, we do have a lot of suppliers on blanket orders, so stuff shows up every month, but there's some stuff that they can't. And then, we've got some of our parts come internationally. And so if one thing doesn't go right, then the whole thing can't be completed. So it's really a dance. And, but I think we're really getting to a pattern down. And I think what we'll do in time is start working on a 2-month cycle and then a 3-month cycle. So there's not so much pressure month over month that everything has to go perfect on supply chain.
Yeah, so it sounds like something just you're forever working on that, huh?
Yeah, that's the manufacturing. It's not that putting it together is hard. It's the logistics of supply chain that's challenging. Yeah.
Well, what kind of people do you have working there? How's your workforce in Mars Hill?
It's been really, I think what helps us a lot is it's such a unique business. It's not like, coming to make bolts and screws. It's people get really excited about the product and the mission. So it hasn't been terribly hard to get good people. We definitely got the best crew here now that we've ever had. And most folks are pretty local. For whatever reason, we found the north side of Asheville is easier to find folks than the south side. I don't know why, but a lot of hard workers in the rural areas up here that are really, after having worked in contracting or in restaurants, this is a job that I think they're really grateful to have. It's a great work environment.
So what size is your staff right now? How big are you?
12 plus me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And continuing to grow with your units?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the search and rescue stuff is really going to be huge. So we're What I feel great about now is we've got SOPs, really worked out quite well, and our supply chain blanket order. And so I feel like we're in a really scalable position right now where we've laid a really good foundation to move on to the next level. So yeah, so our sales volume, doubling, I feel like we could, within 6 months or so, I think we could get our production to that same level. So it's a
Yeah.
great team.
Are you shipping overseas?
We ship anywhere. We really try to focus on selling here because, the support logistics on the other side of the clock is challenging. But Australia, there's a lot of interest in
Hmm.
Australia for whatever reason, and New Zealand, and it couldn't be any further away from home than that. There hasn't been as much in Europe, but tons in Australia. So
Yeah. All right, we're speaking with Tommy Ausheman from Outrider USA. Fascinating product you have there.
thank you.
What do you see? I mean, you just continue to work on variations of it, or and another question I have is, is there anybody else doing this, or you feel like you're kind of one of the few that's doing this type of business?
Definitely one of the few. There's I would say apples to apples, there's three others.
Okay.
There's one out west that's more based on a like sort of an ATV chassis, and it's like
Hmm.
a mobility scooter, but it is electric. There's one out west that's simpler with less capability, that's about half the price as well. So it's a nice entry level option. And then
Hmm.
there's one over in Europe that I think is right kind of with ours. Not, it's
Hmm.
similar in some ways, but it's right there on quality and performance. They're not yet selling within the United States, but we
Yeah.
each have I always think about all these kind of mobility devices as different tools for different jobs. There's certain jobs that our machine will do better. There's other jobs that the other machine will do better. It kind of depends what you want to do. If you want to crawl and go super slow, and go hiking at 2 miles an hour, then that other machine might be better for that. Whereas ours, if you want to go mountain biking with your buddies at a higher speed profile,
Ah,
ours might be better for that. Yeah.
so that's what you guys do. You got a faster one.
Yeah, ours is a little faster, super long range. The range and the speed are two of the most compelling aspects, but ours can crawl too. And that's why on the search and rescue side, it's working well because it's, obviously you're going 2, 3 miles an hour on that in that application.
Yeah, see, I'm an engineer. I don't want to get too technical, but how
Yeah.
far will it go, and how long does it take to charge?
The range really depends on the application, but
Oh
I'd
yeah.
say, yeah, just kind of in a general sense, our machines have lithium packs, and you can do up to four of them, all run in parallel. So the typical range is 15 miles per charge off road
Mm.
per battery. So with a four
Oh.
pack machine, you're getting 60 miles, and that's a true 60 miles. So we wanted to make sure that guys are doing the biggest adventures on these. If you can't walk, it's a real big problem if you putter out of juice, in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah.
so,
Well,
so we
60
gotta have,
miles is a lot, I'm thinking,
that's
if
a
you're
lot.
going into the woods. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of a multi-day. For instance, a good example would be if a guy's going to a hunting camp and it's a tent camp, they might have a generator or
Mhm.
something. But if they're going out to hunt for 3 or 4 days and they don't have a cabin to recharge or whatever, it'll be important that they have that kind of range.
Yeah, so this has been great, Tommy. Appreciate you spending some time with us and to talk
Hmm.
about your product, outriderusa.com, right? That's where you can
That's
get it.
right.
You just can
Yes,
order,
sir.
get online and fill out the forms, and you can have one shipped to you, and don't ship it back, right? Is
Yeah,
that
that's
it?
right. Yeah, it's easy. Yeah, it's easy to place the order. That's for sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we build them all by hand, so it's kind of a sweet process. People can get whatever color they want. Save a little money if you get black. We got the Henry Ford kind of Model T thing going on. We like building them in the color black because it just makes things easier. But
Yeah,
yeah,
you do
folks
all
can
the
get whatever they
assembly
want.
and painting right there in Mars Hill. I mean, you're at your
We
shop, or do you ship some stuff out? Or...
Yeah, we do all the assembly here. The laser cutting happens down in Florida for the plate. Laser tube cutting happens up in Pennsylvania. Then we have CNC work out in Wyoming
Oh,
and
wow.
in Virginia. Yeah. So all that stuff comes together and we weld it here in the shop, and then we have it powder coated, painted up in Asheville, and then all the assembly happens here in our shop.
Well,
So
that's great. I hope to get up there and see one day. In
yeah, I would love that.
RCO. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll work on that. And again, I appreciate the time you're spending with us today and to do this
Hmm.
for me. And I'm glad I
Yeah.
met you up in Hickory the other day.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that a lot.
All right. Thanks so much, and we'll talk with you another time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for joining today's Clocking In, Voices of NC Manufacturing. This podcast is brought to you by NC State's College of Engineering, the North Carolina Manufacturing Extension Partnership, and Industry Expansion Solutions. If you'd like to learn more about the solutions NCMEP offers, go to www.ncmep.org. Want to listen to previous Clocking In podcasts? Go to ncmep.org/clockingin.